Next on Currents News, say it ain't snow. It looks like the joy of waking up to a snow day is now a thing of the past. I'm Emily Drewby, and I'll show you how remote learning is keeping schools open during the bad weather this year.
Also, the Supreme Court once again sides with churches in 2 states in the fight for religious freedom.
DeSales Media is bringing Advent into the airwaves with a digital calendar that's keeping Catholics across the Diocese of Brooklyn connected this Christmas season. I'm Jessica Easthope, and that's ahead.
Then we'll travel back in time to see how the Big Apple crushed another deadly disease outbreak in just weeks. Currents News starts right now. Good evening, I'm Christine Persichetti. Both New York City's public schools and the Diocese of Brooklyn's Catholic academies will be closed tomorrow as the city braces for what could be the biggest winter storm in years. But that doesn't mean students anywhere will have the day off. Classes will be held remotely. So is it the end of snow days? Currents News' Emily Drewby is in Flushing with the story.
And they're going to say, well, it's snow. It comes from the clouds, Miss Lance.
Miss Ashley Lance is walking us through the lesson she has planned for school on Thursday. It's snow-themed, perfect for the new kind of snow day they're going to have.
Trying to center all of my activities around the snow, so we're still having a snow day, and we're still learning about the snow and how much fun it could be, but they're learning at the same exact time.
In New York City and across the country, snow days are on thin ice. Many schools deciding to switch to online learning during bad weather instead of canceling school altogether, taking advantage of the remote learning model that the pandemic forced schools to adapt. This includes all Catholic academies and parish schools in the Diocese of Brooklyn.
Having this ability to flip to remote and not lose a whole day and not lose instructional time is really, really a valuable thing.
A decision made because they're just days away from winter break. On Thursday, all of their buildings will close and schools will switch to the online learning model. Here at St. Kevin Catholic Academy in Flushing, Queens, their principal says teachers like Miss Lance are using unique lesson plans to keep some of the classic snow day joy.
So we're going to try to at least give them some sense of a typical school day or a typical snow day, where they've not really had a lot of typical days here.
Some lessons will even get the kids outside. But of course, many kids are not happy about missing out on a snow day. But as Ms. Lance explains, this year especially, kids need more school, not less.
They missed out on a very, very integral part of their education. With socialization, a lot of them were having trouble making friends in the beginning. With letters and numbers and sounds, we were a lot farther behind typically than usual years.
Her concerns echoed by New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, who used the same reasons when announcing city schools would also forgo the classic snow day this year. There's no way to know for sure if this change will be permanent or just for the storm, as schools, including in the Diocese of Brooklyn, are still figuring it out for themselves. In Flushing, Queens, Emily Drewby, Currents News.
A Food and Drug Administration advisory panel says Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine appears to be very promising. That panel is meeting on Thursday to review the vaccine for emergency use authorization. It confirms that the Moderna vaccine's efficacy against COVID-19 is at 94.5%. The vaccine could be greenlit for distribution as early as Friday. And a little later on in the newscast, another killer, smallpox, was still a huge threat in 1947. We'll tell you about a remarkable vaccination effort by the city of New York that stamped out a potential killer in record time. The battle on Capitol Hill over a second COVID relief bill may soon be over. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and Minority Leader Chuck Schumer say they're optimistic that they are getting close to a deal. Key sticking points have been aid for states and local governments wanted by Democrats and a liability shield wanted by Republicans that would protect businesses from being sued if customers or employees contract COVID. Both sides may have backed off those demands to concentrate on what they do agree on, which includes extending jobless benefits, small business loans, and money for a vaccine distribution. A grim milestone was marked in Washington, D.C. Tuesday. The bells tolled for 30 minutes at the National Cathedral. They rang 300 times for the 300,000 people who have died from COVID-19. The U.S. passed the grim milestone on Monday. The Supreme Court is once again siding with religious groups against COVID restrictions. This time, churches in New Jersey and Colorado argued restrictions on services violated their rights to freedom of worship. Back in November, the High Court ruled in favor of the Diocese of Brooklyn in a similar suit against Governor Andrew Cuomo's restrictions limiting capacity at churches. Meanwhile, the Brooklyn Diocese case is cited in a lawsuit brought by the Archdiocese of Washington. It's suing the District of Columbia over COVID-19 restrictions. The High Court sent the Brooklyn Diocese case against New York back down to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, where arguments are expected on Friday. We have new information on that gunman at St. John the Divine. Police say the man who opened fire outside of the cathedral on Sunday left a note saying he planned to take hostages and that he was outraged over how the U.S. treats Latin America. 52-year-old Luis Vasquez, who was from the Dominican Republic, was in the U.S. on a travel visa that expired on Sunday. He was shot and killed by police. Two high-stakes races could flip control in the Senate. Now, fresh from securing an electoral college win, President-elect Joe Biden is advocating for the two Democratic candidates as the race for the Senate heats up in Georgia. Melissa Rainey has the latest from Atlanta.
Vote Georgia like your life depends on it, because it actually does.
The campaign trail is on fire in Georgia. President-elect Biden paying a visit to the state Tuesday.
Hello, Atlanta.
Alongside Senate Democratic challengers John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock.
I need two senators from this state who want to get something done, not two senators who are just going to get in the way. Because look, getting nothing done just hurts Georgia.
The Trump campaign slammed Biden's backing of Ossoff and Warnock, saying in a statement, quote, that Joe Biden would campaign for them is further proof that he is utterly in the grip of the extreme left, which is the driving force in today's Democrat Party. Now, early voters have been hitting the polls to cast their ballots before the official runoff election day on January 5th. And runoff ad spending in Georgia is nearing an eye-popping $500 million.
But we're going above and beyond. So for this Senate runoff, we're making sure that we are encouraging both political parties to have monitors there as the envelopes are received, as you're verifying the signature, so that people can verify the process. And also we have 24/7 video surveillance of the entire process. So we want to make sure whatever the transparency level needs to be, let's step it up to the next level so we can give voters that confidence.
In Atlanta, I'm Melissa Rainey reporting.
During the pandemic, our faith has been tested. We've celebrated Mass and the most meaningful holidays online. And though the vaccine means there's an end in sight, the Christmas season won't be the same, which is why DeSales Media is bringing people across the Diocese of Brooklyn a way to stay connected. Currents News' Jessica Easthope has more.
We started with hope.
The candles on this wreath represent the 4 weeks of Advent, but each candle also has a meaning: hope, peace, joy, and love.
Just as we hope for the coming of Christ in Christmas, but we, I think all of mankind, is just hoping for a time when the vaccine is here and this disease, this pandemic, is behind us.
This Advent, Father Christopher Henyu is partnering with DeSales Media Group, the communication and technology arm of the Diocese of Brooklyn that operates Net TV, to create a digital Advent calendar as part of DeSales' Rediscover Christmas campaign.
I think it was just sort of a natural transition to digitalize the traditional Advent calendar. In a way, it can reach a lot more people.
We are people of hope. We hope in things unseen.
The calendar features videos from Father Henyu with a new message for the week's theme every Sunday. There are also prayers, quotes to reflect on, and actions to take. Some even let you treat yourself.
In some of them, they are like create Christmas ornaments with your family, but then other ones are a little bit deeper, like reflecting on 5 things that you can be grateful for this year. It's always hope, peace, joy, and love.
Caitlin Sack-Dallin is the social media community manager at DeSales. She helped get the digital Advent calendar rolled out. It has nearly 600 daily viewers and has reached more than 60,000 people on social media.
It's kind of meant to be a purposeful way for us to reconnect and really, truly rediscover Christ in Christmas.
Unlike the advent calendars you can buy at a store, there are no chocolates or sweet treats. But Caitlin says this advent calendar offers something much more satisfying.
It's really meant to kind of fill your soul and feed you kind of internally in a different way and fill you with the hope of Christ.
So while the season is missing some tradition, it gives us a chance to bring Jesus back into focus and rediscover Christmas. In Richmond Hill, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
You can subscribe to the digital Advent calendar at rediscoverchristmas.org. There you'll find daily reflections, quotes, and prayers. There's a lot more news headed your way.
It was absolutely typical New York. Line up, shut up, keep moving, and get your vaccine and move on.
That, in a nutshell, is how the Big Apple beat back a smallpox outbreak that threatened to devastate the city. We'll have the amazing story coming up. Plus, the Holy Father's wish for all of us as we celebrate Christmas in the time of coronavirus. And we'll meet a preteen whose selflessness is making the world a little bit better for those in need during the pandemic.
Now you can help us put your faith in the news. The next time you capture a newsworthy event, send us your pictures or video. It's easy. Go to netny.tv/send us, and you may see your submission on Currents News.
New York City was at the heart of the coronavirus pandemic when it began spreading across the country. But that wasn't the first time the Big Apple faced an infectious killer. Back in 1947, smallpox threatened the city, and the city fought back with one of the most ambitious and well-executed public health campaigns in its history.
Please remember that it is only vaccination that is a protection from the dire ravages of this very serious disease that leaves in its trail death and destruction.
That was New York City Health Commissioner Israel Weinstein in 1947, urging all New Yorkers to get vaccinated after an American businessman contracted smallpox during a trip from Mexico and later died in a New York City hospital where others soon became infected.
In 1947, there was a small but scary outbreak of smallpox in New York City.
The scare launched a citywide scramble to keep New Yorkers safe from a deadly killer whose presence dates back 3,000 years. Infectious disease expert Kent Sepkowitz studies outbreaks past and present and says smallpox was an even bigger threat than COVID-19.
Smallpox was a much more fatal disease if acquired. And among survivors, it was quite disfiguring. Could lead to blindness and a lot of other problems.
Smallpox killed an estimated 300 million people in the first half of the 20th century alone. 30% of those who contracted the disease died, prompting the city to spring into full crisis mode.
It was bad enough that the mayor and the Department of Health both decided that the entire city had to be vaccinated. It was a city of about 7 million plus people at that time in 1947.
Tens of millions of doses were distributed, vaccinations were free, and a coordinated public education campaign helped spread the word. Archivist Katie Ehrlich with Municipal Archives works with the valuable remnants of New York's history that tells the story.
The vaccination programs that the city implemented, around the mid-20th century were really highly organized and kind of all hands on deck, setting up free health clinics, setting up points of contact where New Yorkers could go and get these vaccines, and it was really targeted to specific populations in terms of who the city thought was more perhaps vulnerable to these specific outbreaks.
Less than a month later, millions of New Yorkers had been vaccinated, and the public health emergency declared over. 4 to 5 million people in all, including part of the tri-state area, were vaccinated over a 2-month period.
It was something to be proud of. It was New York style. It wasn't, completely everyone behaving, but it was something that is a real achievement. And the success of it was that we were still really in a let's do this for America moment. We were very much in a taking orders is okay moment. That's how you get things done.
The 1947 smallpox scare marked the last major outbreak in the country, and even though only 12 people came down with the disease and 2 died, a massive global effort to vaccinate the entire world population soon followed. Smallpox was officially eradicated in 1980. As coronavirus restrictions increase here and around the world ahead of the holidays, the Pope is proposing a more spiritual and less consumerist Christmas.
Anche ci aiuti questa difficoltà a purificare un po' il modo di vivere il Natale, di festeggiare, uscendo dal consumismo, che sia più religioso, più autentico, più vero.
Pope Francis says instead of spending your energy thinking about what can't be done, we should redirect our energy to find out what can be done to help those around us. An 11-year-old boy in New Jersey found a way to help people during this pandemic. He decided to create care packages and give back to first responders and people less fortunate than him. Charlie Latisse, Chief Care Officer of Kids Who Care, joins us now. And Charlie, first of all, where did this idea to help people come from?
So I saw this boy in Maryland on this show called Little Big Shots. His name is Kavanaugh. And he was helping people in his neighborhood and town and community so they didn't have to risk getting COVID by going to the stores. And I wanted to help him, but little did we know that he was going to start helping me by giving me supplies so I can make care packages and hand them out.
Wow, that's great. So what are some of the things you collect and put in these care packages?
So I've had a big sponsor, Ronnie Towels, and they gave me 1,000 paper towel rolls, so I've been putting them in the care packages, cleaning supplies, and non-perishable foods.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, we hear you've also gotten a lot of support from people in your community. Who's gotten involved so far, and how did the word spread?
So I've actually had my friends join me and help. Actually, one of my friends I've helped because he wasn't getting his lunches from school because of COVID, because he was one of the people getting free lunches. So I helped him by giving him care packages, and he helped me give the gift cards that I gave to the first responders a few weeks ago. And I've been very successful with donations and what I've been doing.
Now, how have the churches and the schools been helping you?
So I've given care packages to my church. We do a monthly food thing for homeless or people in need, and I gave them care packages and helped out on the food thing that they were doing.
Okay, now you know firsthand the difficulties this pandemic has caused people. I know both of your parents were furloughed from their jobs. Now, when that happened, did you ever consider putting Kids Who Care on hold, or did it make you want to help people even more?
So it actually gave me and my parents more time to focus on Kids Who Care because they were always home, and it helped me get the word out there even more because they could always be helping me.
Oh, that's great. Now, what's the next big donation you have planned?
Well, I am doing a toy drive for the kids at K. Hovnanian Children's Hospital at Hackensack Meridian. And I've been getting a bunch of donations money-wise so I can buy toys, and I've been getting toy donations so I can give it to the kids at K. Hovnanian.
It sounds wonderful, Charlie, and I'm sure your parents are really proud of you. Charlie Latisse, Chief Care Officer at Kids Who Care, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
And if you're interested in getting involved and want to donate, head on over to kidswhocare.com, and that's care with a K. Still to come on Currents News, how you can help make sure every kid in Brooklyn and Queens will have a present under the tree this Christmas, and why the Vatican's nativity scene is getting a lot of attention this year. Christmas is fast approaching, and the tablet is calling on you to help spread some holiday cheer to those less fortunate. The paper's Bright Christmas campaign is making sure every kid throughout Brooklyn and Queens will have a gift under the tree this year. And their editor-in-chief, Jorge Dominguez, is here to help explain how. And Jorge, last week you saw a big jump in donations. There was another big jump this week, right?
Yes, well, even bigger jump. We are almost at $55,000 now.
Nice. That's exciting. All right. You wrote about the Bright Christmas campaign in your column last week. You talked about a letter you received from a good priest friend of yours who unfortunately passed away from COVID, Father Jorge Ortiz. Can you share with us what Father Ortiz had said to you about the Bright Christmas campaign?
Yes, and by the way, I wrote about that because it was a year to the day last Sunday when he wrote that letter to me.
Wow.
And he was saying, that he needed money from the Bright Christmas campaign to celebrate Christmas in his parish. Because a lot of kids didn't have a father at home in his parish.
Okay.
And he was hoping that by celebrating Christmas, they were going to discover the gift of the Heavenly Father that is solely so close to us. And this is, the spirit. This is the goal, to evangelize through a Christmas party, a Christmas present, to a celebration of Christmas.
Right. It's so wonderful. So how can people at home help?
Well, it is very easy. And this year is easier than ever. You can just write a check and send it to the Tablet Bright Christmas, 1712 10th Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11215. Or you can also go to thetablet.org, the website of our paper, and just click in the Bright Christmas campaign.
So it's so easy. There's no excuses. Everybody's got to donate.
Yes.
All right. Jorge Dominguez, editor-in-chief of The Tablet, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And don't forget, the Tablet newspaper is also looking for some creative kids this holiday season. The annual Christmas art contest this year is digital. The event is held in collaboration with the Knights of Columbus. Students in grades 1st through 12th in Brooklyn and Queens are invited to express their faith through art with the theme, Keep Christ in Christmas. So if your child is interested, they can send their artwork to thetablet.org/2020 art contest. Remember, this is a digital art contest, so no physical artwork will be accepted at the Tablet's office. One more thing, Wednesday, January 13th is the deadline, so you have to submit those works of art before 5 p.m. that day. The artwork that makes up the Vatican's nativity scene is getting a lot of attention. Some say the very untraditional nativity, which includes an astronaut, seems very modern and shows that Jesus reaches every part of the universe. But others say it's just strange and not what we needed in a pandemic.
I would have preferred a more traditional nativity scene. This one seems a bit cold. With the virus situation, where we can't hug each other, perhaps a traditional nativity scene would have helped face the situation and have a better Christmas.
The nativity scene was created by art school students in Italy in the 1960s and 70s, around the time the first humans landed on the moon. So that makes sense. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.